I just took several hours analyzing the Tron blockchain. I tried to find out who is using Tron, where's all the value coming from, and what I found out was absolutely shocking. More than $5 billion worth of value is just, trust me bro, money. It was wrapped Bitcoin that got issued just out of nowhere. I have an incredibly hard time to believe that the value on the Tron network is legitimate. I very much think that most of the value is just invented out of thin air, and nobody has really noticed this so far because very few people are actually using the Tron blockchain. Now I've got some very strong concerns, and nobody in the market seems to be seeing what I'm seeing because the price of Tron went up by more than 60% in this year. The first thing that caught my attention is that Tron is the second largest blockchain in terms of total value locked, but there aren't that many people talking about Tron. How is it possible that the number of addresses on Tron is more than double the number of addresses on Solana, while the number of active applications is roughly 1/5 of Solana? How is this possible? When we then look at the total value locked on the Tron blockchain, also it seems like it's growing over time quite massively. But I believe this growth is artificial. More on that later. I do not believe that there's really 7.7 billion on Tron. I believe the majority of that money could be just created and invented out of thin air. And so all of those numbers seem to be shaky. Is really the number of active addresses growing quickly? And are we really that close to an all-time high with 2.6 million addresses? How is the number of active addresses growing like this when the transaction volume isn't really growing, when the transaction volume is pretty much flat in the last 4 years? Is it really organic activity when the stablecoin usage continues to grow? Is this people transacting $100 billion worth of stablecoins in a single week on Tron? Something seems to be fishy here when there's only 34 applications running on Tron. And so I got on a mission trying to find out where all of this value is and where exactly this value is coming from. And what I found was not pretty. So let's go on this journey together. What we see is that the majority of Tron's value is on a platform called Just Lend. $5.6 billion. Here's the user interface of that platform, and the majority of that wealth is in Bitcoin. So check that out, $5.38 billion in Bitcoin on the Just Lend DAO. Now, who would deposit that much money on this platform when the yield for the deposit is less than 0.01%? It doesn't really make much sense. The main problem with crypto YouTube is conflict of interest. Too many YouTubers shill garbage, promote garbage, and fill up their pockets in the background. Not this channel. Instead, there's simply the offer where I share my skills, my perspectives to you, and where I also share direct access to me, where you can ask me any questions. Feel free to check it out. The premium membership link is down below. It doesn't make much sense unless that money was just created out of thin air. Unless there was somebody that tinkered with the blockchain, creating, say, almost 90,000 wrapped Bitcoin out of nowhere. It doesn't make much sense if you really had that Bitcoin, but if you just get that Bitcoin out of nowhere because the issuer of Bitcoin on Tron just sends you those Bitcoin to the wallet, then of course you could deposit that without any problem. So let's have a closer look. There is 88,000 Bitcoin on this Just Lend platform, and it's $5.4 billion worth. And again, that's the majority of all the value on Tron. And I'm not going to go through every single DeFi platform on Tron, but if we can already get a good hint that more than 5 billion of that value is just created out of nothing, then probably the remainder isn't that legitimate either. Now again, let's go back to this platform. When having a look at the Bitcoin token on Tron, I found something very problematic. So here's the first hint that caught my attention. We've got 38,000 holders. That's not really a problem, but have a look at the asset breakdown by holder. 99.78% of all of Bitcoin on Tron is held by the top 10 holders. That is very, very odd. Let's have a look at those top 10 holders. The vast majority is in the smart contract of Just Lend. So that's what we just looked at. That was the $5.4 billion worth of value. The second largest holder is HTX, or the Huobi exchange. And we all know that Justin Sun, the founder of Tron, is very closely affiliated with HTX. Over here, he's wearing a t-shirt of the exchange. Now let's first look at the second wallet, right? The Huobi wallet that has $1.1 billion worth of Bitcoin on the Tron network. Let's have a look at the balance breakdown of HTX wallets. How many Bitcoin does HTX actually in aggregate hold? And when we scroll through this, right, when we look at the on-chain data, what do we see? We see 800 million worth of Bitcoin here. How on earth is it possible that when HTX is only holding 800 million worth of Bitcoin, that they've got $1.1 billion worth of Bitcoin on the Tron blockchain? How is this possible? Well, maybe those are simply tokens created out of thin air, but I don't want to focus too much on the exchange wallet. What I want to focus on is the big fish. I want to look at this $5.3 billion. Or in other words, how did the Just Lend platform get all of this value? Now here's the detail page of that smart contract platform of Just Lend. And the first thing that I noticed is that the platform really is not used that much. We only had in the last 30 days 370 smart contract calls. So barely anybody is using this. Only 91 wallets interacted with the platform in the last 30 days. So clearly those Bitcoin are not parked on the platform because it gets used that much for any kind of DeFi activity. I believe that money is there to inflate numbers artificially. I believe those wrapped Bitcoin aren't even real. Now here's what I did. I looked at this smart contract and I checked when did this contract actually get any meaningful amounts of Bitcoin in the past. And when we check this out, we see several very large transactions that actually matter. The smart contract received 20,000 Bitcoin over here 2 years ago, another 21,000 over here, roughly 1.5 months later, and another 60,000 over here. Now what we see in this column here is what wallets deposited that Bitcoin. So we've got this wallet TUJ and we've got this other wallet TGF. Let's see where those wallets got those Bitcoin from. So we've got the TUJ wallet, which currently holds $1.9 billion worth of assets. The majority of this, by the way, in Tron. And we've got the other wallet, which has $3.1 billion worth of asset. Also the majority in Tron. Here are those deposit transactions. So we've got 21 Bitcoin going to the Just Lend DAO. That's transaction number 1. Here we've got another one with $60,000 of Bitcoin going to Just Lend. And here is the third transaction. I wanted to find out where did those two wallets get their Bitcoin from. Unfortunately, historically, we can't really see this in the charts. So the Explorer shows the holding chart only up until July of last year. We can't see anything before that, unfortunately. So it's June, July of last year, and both wallets started their history with 0 Bitcoin. So this is not where they got their initial Bitcoin from, because again, those deposit transactions happened roughly 2 years ago. And so here is what I did. I looked at those two wallets and I checked the history of those wallets. I wanted to find out how did the balance of Bitcoin increase in those wallets? Where is the money coming from? The shocking answer is that the creator of the Bitcoin token on the Tron network simply just issued the tokens without any proof whatsoever. There is a creator of a Bitcoin token and that creator simply just issued the tokens. And the big question is there anything behind that issuance? It's just trust me bro money. Let me show you what I mean. My first issue is with those two issue transactions. We've got 9,000 Bitcoin issued 808 days ago. Another 20,000 Bitcoin issued 765 days ago to the first wallet. Where does the issuance come from? It comes from a black hole address. Have a look at the other wallet. Here we've got the issuance 718 days ago, as well from the black hole address. Let's check out the details of that transaction. 9,000 Bitcoin just coming from Black Hole to that wallet. Then we've got this transaction here, 20,000 coming from that wallet, and another transaction, 60,000 Bitcoin from that wallet. So let's have a look at the code, at the smart contract of Bitcoin on Tron. Check this out. This is bitcoin.sol. This is the issue function. The owner of that smart contract can simply issue an amount and can then transfer that amount to another address, those two wallets that we had a look at. Now I tried to look at the Bitcoin smart contract, trying to find out how often has this issue function actually been called. How many different wallets receive Bitcoin. Unfortunately, when I tried to filter by this function call, we do get a timeout. At least I was not able to figure this out. Once we do have an overview of how often this issue function was used, then we might get onto something. But again, just looking at the data, summing up 9,000 Bitcoin plus 20,000 Bitcoin plus 60,000 Bitcoin, and we multiply this with today's price, the value that has been issued on the Tron network just out of thin air is equal to $5.4 billion, which represents today 70% of the value. And this again was just looking at Bitcoin. I don't know what other assets had also just been issued like this. Now here's the thing, if we can find somewhere a Bitcoin wallet with 89,000 Bitcoin and we see that it arrived in that wallet pretty much at the same time when it had been issued on the Tron blockchain, then all might be fine. The problem is that the issuance of those Bitcoin happened by the creator of the smart contract, and I don't know if there's anywhere on the Bitcoin blockchain something that's actually backing the Bitcoin that had just been issued. To me, it makes zero sense to have more than $5 billion worth of Bitcoin on a smart contract lending platform when that platform returns pretty much nothing, right? Remember the APY here, less than 0.01%. Now here's the thing, I believe the market is not yet aware of all of this. Because check this out, the Tron price, the TRX price is close to all-time highs. Relative to Ethereum, so this is now the Tron price, divided by the Ethereum price, we tend to be pretty much on the higher end of the trading range. So the potential downside from here relative to Ethereum is 77% if we were not to instantly implode. So the market seems to have no problem whatsoever with those 5 billion. And so here's what I'm going to do. I am going to open a short position on the Tron price. I'm going to bet on falling prices, obviously not on the Tron blockchain, but on other blockchains. I've got the impression that we are facing FTX 2.0 here. I fear that the Tron blockchain is not 100% backed. If you think that you got some value out of this, feel free to obviously give this a like. Feel free to also share this and subscribe. I publish videos regularly. In case you've got Telegram, then feel free to join us. Feel free to also have a look at Premium. In Premium, I share what kind of positions I open, what kind of altcoins I short besides Tron. So looking very much forward to seeing you at thebitcoinstrader.com as well. See you over there. Cheers.